Assalamu alaikum. Just before we start, there's a couple of things that we have to do because of the current regulations. Obviously, make sure that you're sitting out well spaced. There needs to be a distance. If you haven't signed your name on the register, please make sure you put your name on the register. And what's really important, because what's really important is because we want everybody to be heard, and because there are some recordings being made. If anybody's got something to say, what I would suggest is that you raise your hand, you stand up, and then you can ask your question or you can make your comment. Otherwise, if we all start speaking at the same time, it's not going to be recorded properly. And more importantly, if you're asking one of us a question, we're not going to hear it, we're not going to be able to answer it. Okay? Emergency exits that way. And before we start the meeting properly, OS is just going to do a recitation for us.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم عما يتساءلون عن النبأ العظيم الذي هم فيه مختلفون كلا سيعلمون ثم كلا سيعلمون ألم نجعل الأرض مهادا والجبال أوتادا وخلقناكم أزواجا وجعلنا نومكم سباتا وجعلنا الليل لباسا وجعلنا النهار معاشا وبنينا فوقكم سبعا شدادا وجعلنا سراجا وهاجا وأنزلنا من المقصرات ماء ثجاجا لنخرج به حبا ونباتا وجنات ألفافا إن يوم الفصل كان ميقاتا يوم ينفخ في الصور فتأتون أفواجا وفتحت السماء فكانت أبوابا وسيرت الجبال فكانت سرابا إن جهنم كانت مرصادا للطاغين مآبا لابثين فيها أحقابا لا يذوقون فيها بردا ولا شرابا إلا حميما وغساقا لا يذوقون فيها بردا ولا شرابا إن للمتقين مفازا حدائق وأعنابا وكواعب أترابا وكأسا دهاقا لا يسمعون فيها لغوا ولا كذابا جزاء من ربك عطاء حسابا رب السماوات والأرض وما بينهما الرحمن لا يملكون منه خطابا ذلك اليوم الحق فمن شاء اتخذ إلى ربه مآبا إنا أنذرناكم عذابا قريبا كلا يوم ينظر المرء ما قدمت يداه ويقول الكافر يا ليتني كنت ترابا. صدق الله.
আসসালামু আলাইকুম ওয়া রাহমাতুল্লাহি ওয়া বারাকাতুহু। সম্মানিত মুরব্বিয়ান ও উপস্থিত নেতৃবৃন্দ, আমি আপনাদের প্রথমেই ধন্যবাদ জানাইতেছি যে আপনারা অন্ততপক্ষে কষ্ট করিয়া এই যে উপস্থিত হয়েছেন তার লাগে আপনারা আন্তরিক মোবারকবাদ। আমি আজকে মিটিংটা শুরু করতে চাই গত 4 জুন আমাদের মসজিদের মুসল্লি কৈশোর আলীকে যে ঘটনা ঘটছে, যে দুর্ঘটনা ঘটছে, এর জন্য আমরা এই দুর্ঘটনাকে আমরা কন্ডেম করি এবং তার উপযুক্ত বিচার আমরা চাই। এই দুর্ঘটনাটাকে আমরা টোটালি কন্ডেম করি এবং তার সুষ্ঠু বিচার আমরা চাই। আমি আপনাদের অহতই বলতাম চাই, আমরা মসজিদে দায়িত্বে ছিলাম প্রায় 30 বছর। তো 2007 থেকে আমরা নানান বিবর্তনের কারণে আমরা যদি মসজিদের দায়িত্ব থেকে সরে গেছি, তারপর থেকে মসজিদে শুরু হয়েছে কি দরবার মায়ের হাঙ্গামা। সুদীর্ঘ 13 বছর, সুদীর্ঘ 13 বছরে নানান মার এবং হাঙ্গামা, মারামারি, হানাহানি হয়েছে। তারপরে শেষ পর্যন্ত 4 জুন 2019-এর 4 জুন 2020-এর 4 জুন, আচ্ছা 4 তারিখের নববছর নিয়ে আপনার দুর্ঘটনা করছে আমার কয়সালাইয়ের উপরে। আপনারা সব অবগত আছেন। আমরা এর মাঝখানেও আমি নিজে ব্যক্তিগতভাবে আরো কিছু মুরব্বী নিয়ে আমরা 3-4 বার প্রচেষ্টা করছি, সাথে বোধহয় একবার আখলিস্তানও আসলাম, যে কোন অবস্থায় যেহেতু আল্লাহর ঘর, যে কোনো অবস্থায় সব রেখে লইয়া বইয়া একটা মীমাংসা করিয়া একটা মানে সমঝোতার মাধ্যমে আমরা মসজিদটা এমনভাবে সুন্দর করে চালাই যাতে মসজিদের লেখানি চলে। কিন্তু শেষ পর্যন্ত আমরা ব্যর্থ হয়েছি, পারছি না। যাই হোক, কৈশোর ঘটনার পর আমরা প্রায় সুদীর্ঘ 2 সপ্তাহ বাড়াইছি, 2 সপ্তাহ অপেক্ষা করছি। তেমন 2 সপ্তাহ অপেক্ষা করছেন। অপেক্ষা করার পরে দেখা গেল যে যারা দায়িত্ব আসলাম মসজিদের, তারা তরফ থাকি না ব্যক্তিগতভাবে না কমিটিগতভাবে কোনো রেসপন্স না হয়েছে না, কোনো কথা হয়েছে না। এতে করি আমি মনে করি রামনবাসী মনে করছেন যে এই যে ঘটনাটা ঘটছে এটা সম্পূর্ণ কমিটির পক্ষ থেকে তারা মতই করছে। নাইলে নিশ্চয়ই যারা ঘটাইছেন এরা ছাড়াও আরো কিছু মানুষ আছেন যারা হয়তো ইনভলভ আসলে না বা হয়তো জানেন না, তারা নিশ্চয়ই স্ক্যানারও বা মানুষের সাথে যোগাযোগ করতে পারতো, তারা করছেন না। বাধ্য হইয়া শেষ পর্যন্ত আমরা 2 মুরব্বী, আমার মুরব্বীটা আমাদের আপনারা জানেন, জনাব আব্দুল্লাহ মুস্তাফা সাহেব এবং জনাব আব্দুল আলী সাহেব, 2 কাস্টোডিয়ান ট্রাস্টি। এই 2 কাস্টোডিয়ান ট্রাস্টির সহায়তায় আমরা যেহেতু দেখলাম যে এই অবস্থা যদি চলতে থাকে, আজ কৈশোর আলী খালকে মনোর আলী, ফরসুদ্দিন তসর আলী খারে বা খারে মারবো একমাত্র আল্লাহ জানে। আচ্ছা, এটা তো মসজিদে চলতে পারে না। এর জন্য আমরা যে কাস্টোডিয়ান ট্রাস্টি বলে অর্থাৎ আইনের আওতায় আমরা তাদেরকে নোটিশ দিয়েছি, অর্থাৎ 16 জুন নোটিশ দেওয়া হয়েছে যে তারা এগুলো কোনো নিষ্পত্তি করছেন না, কাজে কাস্টোডিয়ান ট্রাস্টি বাধ্য বৈতনি মসজিদের কর্তৃত্ব গ্রহণ করছে, তারা জানানো হয়েছে। এর বাদেও 16 থেকে 26 পর্যন্ত কোনো রেসপন্স আমরা খাইছি না। আচ্ছা, না হওয়া পর্যন্ত 26 তারিখ তো আপনারা জানেন, সকলে জানা আছে। 26 তারিখ আমরা কাউন্সিলর অর্থাৎ কাউন্সিলর যে চিফ এক্সিকিউটিভ মিস্টার ক্রিস হোয়াইটেন নিয়ে আপনারা সহ আমরা একটা মিটিংয়ের ব্যবস্থা করছিলাম। কিন্তু আপনারা জানেন এই স্বতঃস্ফূর্ত মিটিংটারে, শান্তিপূর্ণ মিটিংটারও তারা বাধা দিয়েছে। আচ্ছা, তারা এই গেটও রক্ষিয়া রয়েছে, শেষ পর্যন্ত পুলিশে তারা সরাইয়া দেওয়ার বাদে আমরা মিটিং করতে পারছি। আচ্ছা, তো আপনারা নিশ্চয়ই জানছেন বা বুঝতে পারছেন যে তারা এই মিটিংটা আমরা করতে দিতে আসলো না, একবারে দিতে আসলো। আচ্ছা, তাই হোক, আপনারা জানুন শেষ পর্যন্ত আপনারা যারা উপস্থিত আসলা স্বতঃস্ফূর্তভাবে এবং সর্বসম্মতিক্রমে ওই মিটিং ওই আচ্ছা 3 জনের 5 জনের একটা ইন্টারিম কমিটি, অস্থায়ী কমিটি গঠন করা হয়েছে। আর তখন থেকে আমরা মসজিদের রানিং আছি। এর বাদে দেখা যায় এগুলো আমরা 1 তারিখ বুধে মসজিদে ঢুকলাম, 1 তারিখ 1 জুলাই, প্রথম জুলাই আমরা মসজিদে ঢুকলাম। মসজিদে ঢুকার পরে দেখা যায় 3 তারিখ আবার একদম মানে বুঝছেনি অতর্কিত ভাবে তারা আমরা ঠালা ভাঙি দিল। এটা এগুলো ইন্টারভিউ লগে এবং মুরব্বীর লগে চরমতম বিয়াদবি, চরমতম বেজ্জতি করা হয়েছে। শেষ পর্যন্ত আমরা আবার বাধ্য হয়ে 4 তারিখ আমরা আবার তারা পুলিশের লিয়ে তারা খুলছি, তারা বললে আমরা মসজিদে ঢুকছি। এর বাদে আপনারা জানেন এই মসজিদে শান্তি রক্ষার লাগি, আপনারা নিরাপত্তার লাগি, মুসল্লিদের নিরাপত্তার লাগি আমরা শেষ পর্যন্ত বাধ্য হইয়া কস্টলি সিকিউরিটি আমরা ব্যবস্থা করছি, যে সিকিউরিটি অন্তত পক্ষে দিনও 500 পাউন্ড 24 ঘন্টা 500 পাউন্ড করে দেওয়া লাগে। কেন? আর তো মসজিদের ব্যাপারে অতটুকু পয়সা খরচ করা দরকার আছে না। আমরা যদি মানুষ হিসাবে মানুষের কাজ করতাম, আমরা কিন্তু মানুষ হিসাবে মানুষের কাজ করলাম না। হয়তো আমরা সকল নয়, কেউ আমরা করতে দেন না। এর লাগি আপনারা কাছে দরখাস্ত আমার কতটুকু আমরা আজকে এখানে সমবেত হয়েছি, আমরা চেষ্টা করছি। আমরা লিগেল সাইডের 2 সলিসিটার আলী হোসেন বকুল মিয়া এবং গাজী ফারুক আলী, এবং আমরা আরো সলিসিটার আমান সলিসিটার নামুল আদনান। আচ্ছা, তারা আইনগতভাবে চ্যারিটি কমিশন, পুলিশ, কাউন্সিল এবং আমরা অপোজিশন এরা বারে 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 লেখার পরে বিরাট বড় ফাইল আপনারা বকুল মিয়া কইবা, বারে বারে লেখার পরেও আমরা কোনো রেসপন্স এখনো পাইছি না। এমনকি আমরা কইছি যে আমরা দরজা বন্ধ করছি না, নিগোসিয়েশনের মধ্যস্থতার দরজা এখনো খোলা আছে। কারণ আমরা চাই না চৌরি বাদ দিয়া, আমরা চাই না মসজিদগুলো নষ্ট হোক, আমরা চাই না মসজিদ হোক, মারামারি হোক, আমরা চাই না মসজিদে বন্ধ হোক। এর লাগে আমরা কইছি আমরা দরজা খোলা আছে। আচ্ছা, না শেষ পর্যন্ত তারা হয়েছে না। শেষ পর্যন্ত তারা গত সপ্তাহ তারা সলিসিটারে বোধ হয় সিঁড়ি দিয়েছে। আমরা সলিসিটারে সিঁড়ি দিয়েছে যে ওই যে গেল 3 তারিখ 3 তারিখ বৃহস্পতিবার তারা 2টার সময় তারা আইব, তারা আমরা 4 সন্ধ্যাইতাম। আচ্ছা, যেহেতু আছে এসেট সন্ধ্যাইতাম, এসেট কিতা আছে তো আপনারা জানুন, আর 4 কিতা আপনারা বুঝুন। যাই হোক, শেষ পর্যন্ত আমরা বলছি আচ্ছা বৃহস্পতিবারে দেখা গেল, আমি নমাজও আসলাম, বৃহস্পতিবারে দেখা গেল তারা মেইন যারা আমি খৈরাম, তুরুমিয়া, মর্তুজা বা সুহান, আব্দুর রহিম এরা শোনায়। আচ্ছা, আইসন তফজুল বয়স কয়েকজন মানুষ বাদশাহ সহ এরা আইয়া দেখা করছো আমরা সিকিউরিটিরে সামনে দাঁড়াইছুন, দরজার সামনে দাঁড়াইছুন, গেটের সামনে। তখন সিকিউরিটি জিজ্ঞাসে বলে আপনারা কিতাই কেন? বলে না আমরা তো তোমরা মাথা লেগে আইছি না। তো সিকিউরিটি কইছে সরি আমরা যদি মাথা লেগে আইছি, get out from this side, okay? এখান থেকে হয়ে যাও কি আমরা তোরা তো চিনি রাখে। আচ্ছা, বেশ, এর বাদে তারা হয়ে গেছে কি এই ওই লোক ঘটনা। এখন তারা কই যায় কি তা করে আমরা কিন্তু এখন জানলাম না। আচ্ছা, যতটুকু শুনছি পরস্পর শোনা তো কতটুকু সত্য আমি জানলাম না। তো শুনছি তারা আমরা এটা কৌটো নিত, ওকে? আমরা তারা কৌটো নেই, আমরা এটা কৌটো নেওয়া তো মিন আপনারা সারা টাউনবাসীর কৌটো নেওয়া। এখন কৌটো নেওয়ার পরে যদি তারা কৌটো দেয় আর কোর্টে যদি কোনো সিদ্ধান্ত দেয়, সেটা আমরা দেখবো, আপনারা লই আমরা পর্যালোচনা করবো। আমি আমার বক্তব্য ওখানে শেষ করছি, বাদ বাকি আমার কাছে বক্তব্য নিয়ে করবো। আসসালামু আলাইকুম।
Just before I start, I think the most important question that I want to ask everybody here is, what do we want to achieve? What do we want to achieve for the masjid? What do we want to achieve for the centre? It's not about what I want or what Sasa wants or what anybody else who's running the centre wants. It's not about the finances. It's about what you, as the community, as the membership, what you want. And the information that we've had back, obviously, is that we want what is best for the centre. We want peace, we want harmony, we want unity for everybody. And when I look at what everybody has been telling us over the last few weeks, it's very simple. three simple things that people want to do. They want to go to the masjid to pray, number one. They want to make a donation so that the money can be used for the betterment of the community. And when we have Jummah or when we have Eid, they want everybody to come together in peace and harmony. Well, that's all people want. They don't want anything more from the centre. So that's my understanding. If anybody thinks that there should be more to it, then please let us know. And as Sasa was just saying, for somebody like me, because I haven't been involved in any of this, I've stayed away from any of this. It's only recently that I've understood exactly what's been going on. And probably the easiest way to explain the situation is that it's become, instead of having one unified community, there are groups of people, perhaps with political ambitions, maybe. Perhaps they're getting a little bit big-headed. Maybe they have an ego. Maybe they like having a title. All of these things. And my understanding from what's been going on is that much of the disputes that have been happening around the centre are because of all of these little issues that are going on with all of these little groups. Okay? And the question then is, well, how do you deal with that situation? Because if you want unity, if you want peace, what is the best way of doing that? Well, the best way of doing it is to come back to people in our community. And what everybody has to remember is that the centre is being run not for a group of people, but for an entire community. Every single brick of that building, every bill, every piece of equipment, everything that happens at that centre is funded by the community. It's with your money. It's with our money, with our dads, our uncles, people who have been working hard since the 70s, in fact. The first masjid was opened in 1978. So since 1978, our dads, our uncle, our brothers, our families, they've been investing for everybody's future. So it comes back to this question. It's not about a small group of people who are running the centre, it's about the community. The main reason why I got involved is because there are a number of legalities involved, okay? And what some people don't understand is that you can't just come along and run a charity, raise money, and pretend everything's okay. You shake a few hands, you pay a few bills, and then everything's okay. It doesn't quite work like that. There are rules and regulations that you have to follow. And in this country, they're hot on rules and regulations. And if you don't follow their rules and regulations, sooner or later, you're going to be in trouble. And the kind of trouble that the charity could get into is, for example, the registration could be taken away. The police, if they think that the centre is being used for crime or disorder, they can come along and close the centre. They don't have to get special permission. They can put a closure notice on the premises, and they can shut the place, and they can say, well, until you guys sort yourselves out, you can't use this centre. And if there are other incidents, like Koso's incident, for example, how does that reflect on our community? How does that reflect on our society? And how does that reflect on St Albans as a whole? So all of these problems that have been going on, the only way to stamp it out, we think, is basically to say, what's been going on so far has to stop, we're drawing a line under it, and we're going to start afresh. Okay? Starting afresh has meant this. This is what we've done. We've gathered evidence, we've spoken to people, we've looked at all of the documents, and we've decided, with everybody's support, to hold an emergency meeting. And that happened a few weeks ago. Everybody attended, and we passed a resolution to dismiss the current committee members. Okay? That's happened, and as a result of that dismissal, we, the three of us, plus Mr. Mustafa and Mr. Alim, 5 of us are just in an interim position to make sure that the masjid, the bills, etc., are being paid, that it's being run efficiently. Okay? But going to the future, going into the future, we have to now start talking about the steps that we can take. What actions can we take? What can we do to make sure the masjid, the centre, is being run properly? So the legal steps that we've taken so far are that we've called the emergency meeting, we've notified the Charity Commission. The problem is the other group, they will not accept the resolution that everybody's passed. They don't accept that any of you people here and the people who came to the masjid for the emergency meeting, they don't recognise that any of you have a say. And that's a mistake, because what they're forgetting is that the masjid is a trust, the charity is a trust organisation, and the people who it's in trust for are the beneficiaries. And the beneficiaries are the community. So all they're doing, basically, is looking after trust property on behalf of beneficiaries. And if the beneficiaries, the members of the community, are saying, we're not happy with the way this is being run, you have the right to say, well, these guys came in, we're not happy with what they've done, we're not happy with them not paying the bills haven't been paid for 6 months, we're not happy with them beating people up on the mosque premises, we're not happy with the way they run places. You, the beneficiaries, you, the people of the community, you have the right to say, it's our money, it's our property, we don't like the way you're managing it, we want to get rid of you. It's your right. Everybody has that right. Now, some people have said to me, well, by the way, isn't this a democracy? Isn't this a democratic move? Because you had voting, so there's a form of democratic motion that has to take place. You can't turn up at Parliament and you can't say to your MP, well, I don't like what you're doing, I'm going to get rid of you. And that's absolutely right. It's 100%. As a matter of legal rights, obviously you can't go to the Houses of Parliament, you can't get rid of an MP, but you can protest, you can demonstrate, you can pass a petition, you can persuade an MP that what they're doing is not right. And if they break the law, they have to stand down, they have to resign. It's not unheard of. MPs resign, Prime Ministers resign. David Cameron, he messed things up, he left. Okay, so it's not a democratic process where we just turn up and we blindside people and we just take over. We do it in the same way that we would be expected to do it if we're not happy with the people who are in power. And that's what we've tried to do. But the other side, the committee members who think they're still in power, they're not happy with it. So this is the stage that we've reached, okay? We've employed a solicitor, we've written to the other side, we've written to their solicitors, and we've said that for a number of reasons, we're not happy with the committee. We want to have an election. We want to do things from scratch. Unfortunately, they're not accepting of that decision. Their solicitor has written back and has basically said, as far as they're concerned, those committee members are still the true trustees. They're not going to leave. In fact, they're going to try and turn up, like Sasa said last week, they're going to try and turn up and they're going to try and kick us out. Obviously that failed. And they said, if you don't get out of the mosque premises, if you don't give up the mosque premises by 2 o'clock last Thursday, we're going to start court proceedings. Okay? And what court proceedings mean in this situation is that they would have to go to the High Court, they would have to get an injunction, and using the injunction, they would have to get rid of us, not you guys, because as far as they're concerned, we're apparently the people who have got rid of them, so they'd have to get an injunction against us. And they'd have to get a judge to say that actually they are the people who should be in the mosque. They should be the people running the centre. Now, the risk that they take going to court is this. First of all, it costs a lot of money. Lawyers are expensive. And if you lose in the High Court, in any civil action, not only do you have to pay your own costs, but you have to pay the costs of the other side. So you have to think about the risks involved there. The other thing that they would have to think about, anybody would have to think about going to court, is that just because you go along and you say, I'm a trustee, I'm a committee member, that doesn't guarantee you that the judge is going to agree with you. The judge might not agree with you. So even though they're threatening to go to court, for them there is a risk involved. For us, what's the risk? Well, going to court doesn't scare me. I go to court every day. So it's another day out. I don't mind. It's absolutely fine. If I go in front of a judge and the judge says, well, Mr. Hussain, what have you been doing for the last few weeks? I can say what I've been doing. I can say that I've been meeting with everybody who comes to the masjid. I can say that there are volunteers who are running it in accordance with government regulations. I can say that when people make a donation, we count every single penny, and every single penny is accounted for. I can say that the bills that haven't been paid for the last 6 months, we've paid. We've balanced the books. I can say that there hasn't been any fighting. Sometimes I used to go to Jummah, and then somebody would stand up and start arguing about something, and then somebody else would start arguing, and there'd be a bit of pushing and shoving, and all this sort of nonsense. In the last 5 or 6 weeks, we've not seen any of that. This is the harmony that we're talking about. So if a judge says to me, what's been going on, I can say our community is working together. It's peaceful, and what we're doing at the moment is working just fine. And then the judge will ask them, well, why do you guys say that you should be back? What have you been doing? Well, they're going to have to say, well, we haven't paid the bills for the last 6 months. Right? So, why haven't you paid the bills? Well, we haven't paid the bills because they're in the masjid. It's down to them to pay the bills. It doesn't work like that. If you claim to be the landlord of a property, for example, if you claim to be the landlord of a property, and the tenant rings you up and says the boiler's broken, you don't make excuses not to go and fix the boiler. You have to go and fix the boiler. And in the same way, if you're the trustee of a property, and there's a problem, a bill hasn't been paid, or something hasn't been done, you can't say, well, I can't go there because there's a bit of an issue. No, you have to pay the bill. You've taken on the responsibility, you have to fulfill your responsibility. So that's question number one. Why haven't you done that? Number two, why are you under a police investigation? Why is there fighting? And it doesn't matter who's responsible. It doesn't matter. We don't need to worry about who's responsible. It doesn't matter. That's the job of the police to investigate. But what does matter is that 6 people who are at the top of this committee, they are under investigation. Can you imagine if 6 MPs, for example, or 6 councillors were under investigation for an assault? What do you think they would do? Do you think they could go back into their community and they could say to the local people who have voted them, don't worry about it, it's a bit of a nonsense, let's just carry on as normal. People in the community, they're not going to accept that. What they'd expect you to do, if you're a decent, reasonable person, they'd expect you to resign, or at least be suspended, or stand to one side and say, look, I don't think I can do this role for now, I'll wait until the investigation is over, and then I'll come back. That's what a decent person would do. They're refusing to do that, so they've got to answer to a judge about that. And then the third thing that they would have to answer if they ended up in court is, have they followed the rules and regulations? Okay? And this is crucial. There is a governing document that they have, the Constitution. Okay? It's like, it's a document that when you read it, if you don't know what you're looking for, it's about 10 or 12 pages long. If you don't know what you're looking for, you look at it and you think, wow, this is quite a heavyweight document. It's quite powerful. But then when you give it to, our lawyer, for example, Adnan Mahmood, you give it to him, and you have a discussion with him, and you can see that actually it's full of holes. And what's happened with this document is that over time, instead of it telling us what the rights and responsibilities are of the trustees, what the rights and responsibilities are of the beneficiaries, all of these little things, somebody's taken them out. So, for example, what happens? Let's say the treasurer makes £100 just disappear. Okay? What happens in that situation? Well, there's nothing in the document that says, well, if, for example, one of the committee members is a crook, then everybody else can come along and get rid of him. It's not there. And we know that from law, the law says that. The law can say that if somebody's a crook, you can get rid of them, but the document doesn't. Why doesn't it say that?
It used to say before, in the past.
Where's it gone? Where's it gone? Well, what about, for example, if somebody's under investigation? Because you can't go through life and not have a problem from time to time. Who knows what's going to happen? You might end up, any of us could end up in a situation where we're under a police investigation, for example. Or as a solicitor, the Solicitors Regulation Authority might say, instead of putting A, you put B, so I'm under investigation. So in that situation, what happens? Well, I know from my own code of conduct, it says I have to take a sidestep. I have to stop working, I have to deal with that problem, and then I can carry on. Okay? Why doesn't the governing document say that? What happens when somebody's assaulted, for example? What happens when you turn up and you break the locks of the masjid and you cause criminal damage to somebody else's property? What happens in that situation? The governing document doesn't say any of that. And when it comes to things like voting, for example, it's a bit wishy-washy about how you vote and how you give notices. And if you're the president or the chairman or one of the office bearers, for example, if you're under investigation, the document says I have to give you notice for you to hold a meeting so that I can come and discuss with you how I'm going to get rid of you. So, how does that work? And then when you say these things to the Charity Commission, because what people have to remember, I know there's the letter going around, and I'll come to that in just a minute. What people have to remember is that the Charity Commission, the caseworkers, the people who receive correspondence and deal with correspondence, deal with stuff on a day-to-day basis, they're not lawyers. They know the law about the Charity Commission and how to run charities, but they're not lawyers. Okay? They're not solicitors. They're not barristers. They're caseworkers. People further up the top, they might be lawyers.
Yeah.
Okay? But when you say to the Charity Commission, for example, well, how am I going to give notice to the president that I want to get rid of? How am I going to hold an emergency meeting when that president won't engage with me? They're like, well, it doesn't matter because that's your governing document. Yeah? That's all they see. What is in your governing document? So if we ended up in court, that's one of the things that the judge is going to be looking at. From start to finish. What is the law? What does the governing document say? And what's going on in the masjid? Okay? And why is it that if you're the president, and I'm not happy with the way you're doing things, why can't I get rid of you? Who says I can't get rid of you? If I've got 100k in the bank, and I'm incapable of looking after my affairs, I would employ an attorney. I give them power of attorney. It's a similar setup. If that attorney isn't doing his job properly, you get rid of him. So in this situation, why are we unable to get rid of people that we're unhappy with? We're unable to get rid of them because they refuse to go. They don't want to let go of whatever power they're holding on to. They don't want to let go because, as far as they're concerned, there was a vote last year and they are the properly elected officials. Yeah? And the trouble with the vote last year was that nobody voted. It wasn't even an election. Okay? And they will argue, well, everybody had an option to put people forward. There were 21 vacancies. Everyone had an option to put a candidate forward. You can put yourself forward. Okay? You had that option. That's absolutely fine. Why didn't people go forward? The reason people didn't go forward is because they were unhappy with the process. They vetoed the process. Yeah? So these people, they didn't come into power because people voted them into power. They came into power because people stayed away. They said, we're not taking part. They abstained. So all of these issues, a judge would have to look at if it went to court. Now, obviously we don't want to go to court, because if we go to court, it's going to cost money, even if we're successful at the end. I've got no doubt in my mind that if I stood in front of a judge and I went through all of those points, I've no doubt in my mind that the judge would say, you're absolutely right, there's something fishy going on here. Tell you what, you guys, you stay out, you're suspended, tell you what, let these guys pay the bills, etc., until there's a new election. I've no doubt that that's what a judge would do. Because as far as the judge is concerned, All he would want is for the doors to stay open so we can go and pray, we can make our donations, which is what we want to achieve. That's our aim. Now the problem is this. We've said to the other side, to the committee members, we've said, going to court is a waste of everybody's time and money. Nobody knows how things are going to work out. Plus, it looks bad for us, it looks bad for you. We want everybody to work in unison. So we said we are willing to mediate. We're willing to have a meeting. Councillor Chris White, who came along to our emergency meeting, he said he would chair the meeting. We went and saw Councillor White a couple of times. He contacted the other side. He's put that offer to them. Councillor Iqbal Zia has been involved. To a limited extent, he's been involved, but he's offered to help. You know, the police, the chief inspector of the area, Inspector Wiseman, who's our local neighbourhood inspector, they've all said we are willing to support you to have a meeting. And we've said we will have a meeting, you bring a few people from your side, we'll bring a few people from our side, let's work out what the problem is and find a solution. We've said that. They're not interested. Even though we made that offer, what they did was they got their solicitor to write us a letter saying, if you don't get out, we're going to take you to court. So the stage that we've reached is that we've said we are willing to mediate, we are willing to find the solution. Okay, that's the only way forward. That's the only way that's going to save our reputations, it's the only way that's going to save money. Instead of spending 10 or 20 or 30,000 pounds on a court case where lawyers end up making loads of money, that money could be used investing it into the mosque.
Yeah.
Somebody said to me the other day, as we were leaving on Friday, somebody said to me, I think it was 2 days ago, he said he's come from Luton because he's heard that something's changed at our centre. And he wanted to come and find out what was going on. He was speaking to, was it you and me? I can't remember, it was somebody. Yes, he was speaking to us. And he was basically saying, you know, I like the facilities here. He was saying, I like the facilities here, I wanted to come and see what it's about. He wanted to make a donation. He's come all the way from Luton, he's made a donation. You know? People are hearing about what's going on at our centre. And people can see that there's going to be change. You know? And there's absolutely no reason why our centre, we're well established. We, in our community, not only is the centre well established, but we have people with skills. We have professionals. You know, we have people who are good with their hands. We've got builders, we've got accountants, electricians, we've got plumbers. Okay? Everybody comes to the mosque, everybody comes to the centre. Everybody knows each other. We can use all of these skills. There's no reason why our centre can't be a flagship for St Albans, or for Hertfordshire, or for other people to follow. If we get our act straight, if we have a proper management in place, people will look at us and they'll say, well, we want to follow that model. You know, at the moment we're looking towards the Muslim Council of Britain to see what they're doing about certain things, so that we can get an idea about how do they deal with COVID, etc. We might look to East London Mosque and how they're dealing with stuff there. And they're leagues above us. You know, they're leagues above us because they've got a proper structure in place. But there's no reason why we can't follow in their footsteps on a smaller scale, but follow in their footsteps. Why can't we have people who say, well, I want to go to St Albans, I want to go to the Bangladesh Centre, I want to go and pray there, or I want to make a contribution. Why haven't we got groups or clubs? Why haven't we got services for young people? You know, why haven't we got support services for the unemployed, for the elderly? You know, people who might have issues with, you know, drugs or mental health. You know, people who don't talk about these issues in our community. Why aren't we offering those services through our centre? Why aren't the young people being given access to education? Is it good enough just to come along on a Saturday for an hour, you read the Quran and you go home? Is that good enough? That's what we used to do. It was good for us, but is that what children want to do now? Or do they want to learn a bit more? Or do they want to go with their group of people that they turn up on a Saturday and they want to go and do something else? You know, we can have a vision. We can do all of these things. We have to work together. So I mentioned the Charity Commission. Let me just tell you briefly where we are with the Charity Commission, because there's a lot of gossip going on about the Charity Commission. Okay? The letter that the Charity Commission sent was basically an advisory note. Okay? And I think what a lot of people have missed out is that the letter says that it's a regulatory Section 15 advice letter. Okay? They can only advise the current trustees. They can't advise us because we're not regulated by them.
Yeah.
They can't advise the community because the community is not regulated by the Charities Commission.
No.
They can only advise the trustees because the trustees are regulated by the Charities Commission. The advice from the Charities Commission, when you break it all down, is you should either mediate or you should go to court. Okay? So that's the message from the Charity Commission, just to be absolutely clear. And based on the advice from the Charity Commission, we have said time and time again, we're happy to have a meeting, we're happy to mediate. And going forward from now, we've got a couple of options. And really this comes back to you. It's you and it's our community. You guys have to tell us what you want to do.
Yeah.
My suggestion would be that we go back to this other group and we say to them, look, final chance, we're willing to meet with you, we're willing to mediate, let's not waste time and money, let's have a round table discussion. If they're not willing to do that, my suggestion is that where the Charity Commission says that the meeting, they don't recognise the meeting, my suggestion would be that we hold another emergency meeting. They're saying, well, you didn't follow the proper procedures, that you didn't follow the proper steps. Well, we can have another meeting, and we can take the steps that the Charity Commission wants us to take. We're happy to do that. We'll do whatever it takes. And if that second emergency meeting means that we can get rid of certain people, great.
Yeah.
But the final step, and I don't want to do this, but the final step is none of that works. Really, you've got a choice.
Yeah.
Either we step back and we let these people take over, and you get more of the same, over and over again. You'll get it over and over again. Not just during this tenure, but they'll come back next time. You know, and they'll keep coming back, and nothing's going to change. You can have more of that. Yes, we will change it. But everything comes at a cost.
Yeah.
A number of people so far, alhamdulillah, a number of people have raised a significant amount of money. It's a significant amount of money. Because we've had to pay for security. Security is costly. If we let go of security, they're going to be in through the door. They'll change the locks. They won't let any of us go in. You know, they'll treat us like outcasts, because as far as they're concerned, we're the ones causing trouble. So the security is in place. It comes at a cost. And it comes back to you. If this is the way you want to go, as long as everybody is willing to say, we'll support you, alhamdulillah, let's just go on whatever the cost, we can just carry on. Okay? But before we get to that costly endeavour, we'll make sure, of course, that we try and have a proper discussion. Okay?
আপনারা শুনছেন বকুল মিয়া সব লিগেল সাইডে কথা কইছেন। আচ্ছা, আমি আপনার কাছে দরখাস্ত অভিযোগ করতাম চাই, আপনারা যে দায়িত্ব আমরা যে ইন্টারিম হিসেবে দিয়েছিলাম সোফার, আমরা 26 তারিখে এখন পর্যন্ত চেষ্টা করছি, আপ্রাণ চেষ্টা করছি, ফুলফিল করার চেষ্টা করছি। এবং মসজিদ আমার মনে হয় গত এই দিন থেকে আজ পর্যন্ত যেভাবে চলছে, আপনারা সকল নিশ্চয়ই আমাদের এগ্রি হইবা, মসজিদ শান্তিপূর্ণভাবে পরিচালিত হয়েছে। আচ্ছা, এখন যেহেতু আপনারা জানেন যে এই যে তারা যে ব্যবস্থা নিচ্ছে, তারা যদি কোর্টও দায়িত্ব গুলঙ্গার প্রসেস, ওকে, বা তারা তো আমরা অফার করছি, আমরা নিজেরা অফার করছে যে আমরা দরজা খোলা। আচ্ছা, সোফার এখন পর্যন্ত আমরা এই সারা পাইছি না যে তারা বই বকলিয়ারি নিগোসিয়েশন তারা আর করিয়ারি। ইন দি মিন টাইম আমরা যদি চলতে থাকি, আমরা এই সিকিউরিটি পয়সা দেওয়া লাগবো। সিকিউরিটি পয়সাটা সাধারণ ঘটনা, এটা আমার বকুল মিয়া, রাজীব মিয়া সহ আমরা যারা আছে আপনারা সকলে কনফার্ম করেন, এটা সাধারণ ঘোষণা। এখন আপনার কাছে আমার অনুরোধ থাকবো যে আমরা বকুলে যখন কিছু বাদে যাই যে আমরা কিতা করতাম আপনারা যদি কোন তা আমরা হয়তো চালিয়ে যাইবো কিন্তু সিকিউরিটি কষ্ট দেওয়া লাগবো আচ্ছা অল্টারনেটিভলি যদি কোনো ব্যবস্থা আপনারা করতে পারেন আপনারা সাজেশন দেওয়া যে সিকিউরিটি আমরা যদি আমরা মসজিদ সেভ রাখতাম পারি এরা যদি ঢুকতে না পারে এরা যদি আবার সিকিউরিটি না আনতে পারে আমরা মসজিদ যদি আমাদের লাগে খোলা থাকে এই ব্যবস্থা যদি থাকে আমরা করবো আচ্ছা আমরা হয়তো সিকিউরিটি বাদ দিয়ে নিলে আমরা ডিউটি দিতে হইব এটা আমরা গো এগুলো আমরা মসজিদ এগুলো আমরা সেন্টার আচ্ছা এখন কোনটা করতাম তো আমার বিশ্বাস যে আমরা যদি আরো বকুল মেয়ে কথা বলছেন যে আমরা আরো ইমার্জেন্সি মিটিং করা লাগবে সেটা আমি কইছি ইমার্জেন্সি মিটিং আমরা করা লাগবো কনস্টিটিউশনে যেহেতু আমরা এটা কর আমরা আরো হয়তো 2 সপ্তাহ সময় আমরা নিতাম পারি আর 2 সপ্তাহ সময় নিয়ে ইমার্জেন্সি মিটিং করিয়া কিতা রেজাল্ট এর আলোকে আমরা পরে দিয়ে গেলা করবো ইনশাল্লাহ আমরা আলোকে ডিসকাস করবো আমরা আমরা দায়িত্ব আপনারা কইলাম আপনারা দিচ্লা আমরা অতটুকু করছি এবং আপনার সামনে আমরা থাকছি আপনারা খুব একটা করতাম আমরা এটা আপনার উপরে নির্ভর করে এগুলো যেহেতু কষ্টি এখন আপনারা স্বতঃস্ফূর্তভাবে বেলাটিকে চিন্তা করে হুকা আমরা কিতা করতাম
And the other thing you have to remember is that even though the security cost has been significant, if we went to court, it'd be 3 times as much as what we've paid.
Yes, really 3 times.
You know? And even if we went to court, we don't know when it will end, because at the moment with COVID, cases are not being listed until next year or the year after. So it could be a very long, drawn-out process. So even though the cost at the moment is significant when you think about it for security, it's only a fraction of the cost of going to court. You'd have to pay solicitors and barristers and whatnot. So maybe now, because we've done a lot of talking, let me put it back to you. If anybody's got a question, please raise your hand, stand up, ask the question. We'll do our best to answer it.
So, the cost of security is vast, isn't it? You said. I'm just wondering if we could have other means. For example, this lab is I'm raw family take care of it. Through volunteer. Pardon? Through volunteer. Through volunteer, that's why. Well, my other one was, I'm in a company I'm brought up from alarm system. So if anybody has any entrance to any of them doors, alarm raise through that, security is security, so what they need, change if they're going to change our laws, they would need 20 minutes, 15, whatever. By then when that alarm is always working, we will know the American intruders or we need to be there, present to everyone. I know for the other probably 1,500, 2,000 pounds across the alarm breaking. So it's like sensor alarm sensor only. I think that would be a better option, but they can actually do it work or if it doesn't, then we might have to go through the process of having men in front of the gate looking after it. And after we don't know I'm going to the volunteer if we do a few hours, like 3 hours, 4 hours a day, more than everybody, the whole shift, it's another option. But I think we should go for the first option.
Okay, just to answer Josh Murray's question then. It's a good idea, and in normal circumstances, that would work perfectly well. If there wasn't any trouble, that would work fine. And it's much cheaper. Okay? Our office building in London has got a similar system. The alarm goes off, somebody turns up, that's fine.
That's right.
But the problem with these people is that we have to go 5 times a day for Salah. The gates are going to be opened. So as soon as you open the gates and you open the doors, the alarm system's off. Okay? And as soon as the alarm system's off, what's to stop a thug turning up with his mates and causing a bit of trouble? At the moment, the security isn't just there to make sure that the gates and the doors aren't open. The security is to make sure that we don't get a bunch of thugs turning up. They're SIA trained. They know how to defend themselves. Okay? And if there's some sort of disorder and the police turn up, then at least we can say, take it up with our SIA trained people, they're security officers, they're insured to deal with trouble. If they break somebody's arm, they're insured to break somebody's arm. You know, just deal with them. If it falls on us and we volunteer, accidentally we break somebody's arm, personal liability is on us, or because the mosque has got liability insurance, it's on our liability insurance. And what that means is that next year, instead of paying £1,000, you probably end up paying £2,000. So I agree with Joshim, it's a solution that we can use in the future, but I don't think at the moment, with the current situation, it's something that will work. We need to have somebody there to deal with any trouble. Any other questions? Right.
I just had another question. I think you also spoke about the charity commission. That I'm sure a lot of people got questions about that. Because they give you regulatory advice on that, you said. And on that, it's kind of, the way I read it is that it's still giving the other party full legal sort of right to be masjid. And the way I read it is that they're basically saying we kind of don't have any, or this committee doesn't have any right. So can you elaborate on that a little bit? And also, the second question I have is about remediation. You spoke about. Is everything that you guys are doing to communicate with them, is it being recorded and documented so that you can use it as proof if you have to go to court? And also, is that something that you communicate on that? And what steps are being taken? Because at the end of the day, I mean, character is in them. That's how I see it. And you need to really engage. If necessary, I'm not terms of the meeting or joint body. At least that we need to show willingness from our side. Last meeting, my mom had to go to them, the government, and what are we doing to mediate with them? So that's
well, to answer the simple question about correspondence, every single piece of paper that's been generated, I save it, I keep it in a file, I keep it on my computer. So any document that comes in, we'll have it to hand. There's no problem with that. It's what I do day in and day out. I'm used to dealing with that. So the paperwork, the evidence trail is there. There's no problem with that. As far as why didn't they come to the meeting, every time we've made an announcement on the microphone, even the very first announcements that we made, we've always said that everybody is welcome. The mosque is not closed. No. Nobody is excluded. Okay? Everybody can come along. Just don't turn up and start giving people trouble. Don't start arguments. Well, we tried. Yeah. Personal level money. I haven't done that. I'm not going to risk it. Have I made any phone calls to anybody? I personally haven't. I don't know them really. I mean, I've never moved in their circles, okay? But what I have done is I have sent them letters. Every single one of those people have received a letter from me with my name, my email, my telephone number to say this is what's going on. They've probably had 3 letters each. Okay? They know who I am. They know who Farouk Bey is. They know who Sasso is. You know, we've extended that invitation to them. And they therefore have the option. They therefore have the option of coming back to us and saying, "Let's, we understand that you want to have a meeting. Let's have a meeting." And Sasa is saying that he's been trying to do.
আমার মনে হয় মনে হয় তাদেরকে কত আমি রিমাইন্ড করে দিবার লাগি হইতেছিলাম 7 তারিখ কয়দিনের উপরে যে সল্ট হয়েছে ঘটনা হয়েছে ঘটনার পরে 16 তারিখ যখন আমরা নোটিশ দিছি আমরা কাস্টমার ইন্ডাস্ট্রি যখন নোটিশ দিয়েছেন যে আমরা ইন্টারভিউ করবো আমরা দখল করবো তোমরা যেটা করছো লস অফ ট্রাস্ট নেই তোরা যে আত্মবিশ্বাসী মানুষের আত্মবিশ্বাস থেকে তোরা হরি কিন্তু কি আজ তোরা আর মুক্তি চালাতে পারতে নাই এই 16 তারিখটা দিচ্ছি আমরা 17-18 তারিখ আমি পার্সোনালি তুরমিয়া টেলিফোন করছি আমি টেলিফোন করে কইছি বলে তুরমিয়া দেখো উগান্দারগঞ্জ মসজিদ যেটা ওইবার হয়েছে যতটুকু হয়েছে মোর দেন এনাফ ইজ এনাফ আর না আমার এই 2 মুরব্বী কাস্টমার ট্রাস্টি তুমি জানো তুমি তারও ছিল আমিও চিনি আমারও মুরব্বী তোমারও মুরব্বী সারা টাউনের মুরব্বীরা এগুলো যেটা হয়েছে আমরা তুমি হোক মন্দির বইটা আমরা সকল বই দেখি আর বই আমরা একটা সলিউশন করি আচ্ছা কিন্তু রিপ্লাইটা ভাই আমার কিতা দিছে আজকে আমরা শুনতে দরকার রিপ্লাইটা আমার বাইরে দিয়েছে যে ভাই সাহেব আপনি কেন গুণী মানুষ হইয়ারি বৈশাল মানুষ আপনি জানুন আমি নির্বাচিত প্রেসিডেন্ট আমি আমি লোক বইমুখে তারা হইয়া দেও তারা যদি পারে আমরা একটা কৌটু লেখ বা তারা যদি দখল করিলে দখল করিব আমি কইতাম না এই সেটা আমি করছি এটা 18 তারিখ করছি 18 জুন
Sorry, just one more question. He was just asking, the brother was asking about the Charity Commission letter as well. And what's really important is this paragraph from the Charities Commission. All parties should work in the best interest of the charities, of the charity, okay? To seek to enable the charity to thrive and prosper. So that's their advice. Everybody should work together. The current disputes are negatively impacting on the charity. We would advise all parties to try and work together and, if necessary, seek mediation. So we've never claimed, we don't claim to be trustees, okay? We don't claim to be committee members. Nobody has elected us to be trustees or committee members. The only thing that we're doing at the moment is because there's nobody else to do it, really, is we're paying the bills, we're organising meetings, we're dealing with correspondence. We want to make sure that the charity is being run until a final solution can be found.
That's right.
Albans.
So, I've been listening to like everyone else here for the last 30-40 minutes. Very eloquently spoken, very coherent, and some points I want to pick up on. So everybody talks about, has anyone approached them? Well, how they called a public meeting to ask how we, the public, feel about what happened to Costa Rica. That would be the right thing to do. Because look, I'm not talking about allegiance here. I'm talking about a man that we've grown. I mean, I've lived in this house for the last 40 years. I was born here, like many people here. We've watched for the last 10, 15 years this masjid disintegrate completely into chaos, infighting, Zuma fighting, court cases, battles to and fro. And then what we had was an incident where a man was viciously, brutally beaten up inside the confinements of the masjid. And those people that were alleged to have done it were the actual trustees.
Yes.
I mean, if that doesn't say a lot about us as a town and as a people, I don't know, because, you know, this is a spread not just to the whole of the UK, but worldwide. People are speaking that these people in St. Albans cannot manage their affairs. And that's how much, as people, we've disintegrated. Now, we, as members of this community, we've stood up, had an emergency meeting to say, no, you do not represent us.
Right.
You do not represent us.
Right.
I'm not saying they're guilty or not. What I'm saying is, this man was brutally beaten up. The CCTV has gone missing. Okay?
Yes.
What's going on in this town? What is going on in this masjid? We should all, this is the saddest thing, that the other trustees, I'm not talking about the 6 that allegedly, the other trustees should have stood up and said, you don't represent us.
Yes.
But they haven't done that either. So let's use some common sense here. When we, you know, I mean, someone like Farubai, credible people in this community, you know, very articulate and eloquent in their own professions. We should be saying, you know what, for the last 40 years, or the 30 years of the masjid that's been here, we've never had people like this. We should be supporting them wholeheartedly. So I would say, wholeheartedly, Farubai, you have our support wholeheartedly. Because we need people like you. The other thing that's fundamental is that constitution obviously needs reform.
That's all the
There's many things in that constitution that can be covered. Okay? You know, someone like myself, Abdul Khali, people that have grown up even in Softball all our lives. We've not got involved in the mosque. The reason is we've left it to the elders.
Yeah.
But what's happened in the last 10 years, and we've watched it, we've watched our children grow up, and we're seeing another generation of children not being able to benefit from the masjid.
Yeah.
Now, either we sit aside and say, well, we let the chaos carry on, or we stand up and say, you know what, no, enough is enough. Right? And so therefore that constitution should, reform itself in the sense that we have people caliber, people professionalism, people of a level of education. I mean, a lot of people in that committee or in the trustee board cannot put pen to paper. That's not true.
That's true.
I'm sorry to say that.
Yeah, it is true.
Sorry, let me just finish my point. What I'm saying is, look, you see, you talk about charity commission, They are bringing, I mean, I've had experience with charity commission for the last 12 years, been involved in many charities. I've been a trustee on many a charity. They're a regulatory body. All they can do is give advice.
Yeah.
How that regulatory advice is interpreted, it'll be for a judge to look at.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right? Okay? Look, you're right. You know, costs, courts come out of costs. We don't want that. What we want is to sit down and resolve this amicably. And that means that they have to also come to the table. They have to also say, hold on, you know what? The six people that are in investigation, they should have done the decent thing and step down. Any organisation, anybody, a school, a council, if you're under investigation, you work for the council, the right thing is for you to be suspended. No, the right thing would have been for you to be suspended until that investigation has been concluded. You would have done the decent thing and said, I'm being investigated, let me stand down. But it seems that these people don't understand what decency is.
Yeah.
And the,
Sorry, let me just finish it. So here's the thing, I'm saying, you know, we obviously don't want to spend further money on security. But look, again, why do we have security there? It just goes to show you as a community, we're not capable of managing our own affairs.
Yeah, that's
That's
true.
the reality. And that's the sad indictment of everyone here. So look, so when you talk about has anyone gone over it, they should have pulled the beam. They should have condemned the assault on Coastal Rally. If they felt that they didn't do the assault on Coastal Rally, why have they not condemned the assault on Coastal Rally? So that's why I'm saying to you, it's
and the other,
it's important that we bring things into perspective. Look, I'm going to finish here. What I'm saying is, look, someone like myself, and I know there's many people like myself, you have our full support.
thank you.
Right? Yes, it's going to come at cost. We have to decide as a community, are we willing to fund that cost?
That's right.
I would personally say that let's have mediation with them. We've tried, you said you've tried twice before. Their solicitors have sent a letter back to say that, you know, we're not interested in mediation, we're the right for customers. But that's arrogance. That's just sheer arrogance. They should have been engaged in the community here.
That's right.
So my point is, look, whether you can use other channels, or whether you can use other people who may be here that can, you know, draw a line of communication with them and say, look, let's sit down, let's find a way out of this, right? And I personally think, given their history, that, you know, that there has to be some form of working or subcommittee that is able to change and make recommendations as to what, how the Constitution will look in the future. Because what you can't have is these types of people coming in time and time again. Right? And so we're going back to the politics of the oath. And that's what we want. We want a reform mosque. We want good people like yourself. And we should be biting the hands off. We should be saying, you know what election? We need someone like you, man. We need to reform this town. So you have our full support. And you know, whether it's money or whether it's, you know, encouragement, we're here for you. And I've got no personal issues with anyone in this town. I don't have a personal agenda. But what I will ask myself is, am I capable? We all have our own shortcomings, but what I'm saying is, do I meet the criteria? Am I able to set a standard here? And this is what these people should be questioning in their conscience. Unfortunately, I don't have that capability. And look, I'm addressing everyone, it's not just yourself, I'm addressing everyone. We all have a responsibility in this town. Our children are growing up here, our grandchildren are growing up here. What we can't have is people like that, brutality, violence, unacceptable. So it's really important that we all come together and say, look, let's find a way, yes, but if they're not willing to come and mediate, then let them take it to court. I can tell you one thing about the High Court, and I've heard the High Court many times. One of the High Court's requirements is that you go with clean hands. They obviously don't have clean hands. So that will be thrown out of court straight away. So I'm just saying that if they feel that that's what they want to do, well, go to court. But I can tell you something, 6 people under investigation, the judge will throw it straight up.
Thank you, Alan. Thank you for your support. Just a couple of things about what Alan said. If it did go to court, the judge would want to know, have you come with clean hands? This is an equitable, I don't want to go into the law and everything, but it's an equitable remedy, basically. You have to go and say to the judge, I've come with clean hands, which means that I haven't got any dirt on me. You know, if you're a dirty person, you're going to try and get something, you know, the judge is going to say, hang on a minute, we don't want you. So that's absolutely right. That's why I said earlier on, if we go to court, I've got no doubt in my mind that they're going to lose, okay? There's no problem with that. The other thing that Alan was saying about the other committee members, there's 21 of them, 6 are under investigation. Within their group of people, they have decided who's the president, who's the treasurer, who's the secretary. And the Constitution gives them the power to do that. Now, if they had any sense, and this just demonstrates what kind of people they are, if they had any sense, the 15 people, the majority, if they had any sense, they would have said, well, we're not going to have this president, we're not going to have this secretary. Actually, to save face, so that we can go to the centre and we can face people, let's just get rid of these people, elect a new president, elect a new secretary, elect a new treasurer. And they haven't done it.
No.
They haven't done it because they don't understand the Constitution, they don't understand how it works,
Yeah.
and they don't understand how it's going to look if they end up in a situation.
They are not 21 now, they are 20.
And I've also heard that one person has resigned properly.
Yeah, properly resigned.
Sorry, Arka's investigation about communication. Yes, there has been communication. I'm not going to give names, but there have been other people involved who are not councillors who have acted as a go-between. Okay? They have passed messages back and forth about meeting, but nothing has come of it. So it's not that we've cut anybody off. We want to have a discussion. You know, for my personal, you know, I've got things to do. You know, I want to say, look, I've done my bit for the community. I've got you to this position. Now you choose who you want to run the committee, so I can get on with my life. Sorry, but other people have got questions to ask.
Rule book already changes it for their own benefit.
Yeah.
Members cannot just trustee just can't change it. Public will change what you the 100-pound example go missing.
Yeah.
Nobody's liable for it.
Yeah.
Over the years they've changed it. That is wrong as well. A lot of people are not aware of that.
Yeah. Well, the thing is about the Constitution, it was signed by Mr. Rahim when he was secretary or whatever. Okay, whenever. He's now an official again, and probably he wants to be an official a third time round, a fourth time round. Okay? So he's developed it over the years to meet their agenda. Okay? And the funny thing is that when you actually read the word of the Constitution, it says you can't be an office bearer 2 terms in a row.
Yes.
Okay? But he's been an office bearer, I think 3 terms in a row.
Yeah.
Okay? So even the document that he's drafted, he's not following.
Yeah.
If you trace this, it goes back to him. That he's been doing that because of his own benefit.
Yeah. I don't want to criticize. I don't want to criticize individual people. Well, I'm saying that. But legally, if you want to stay in power, you need a document. Okay? He's got political ambitions. He wants to stay in power. That document has been drafted in such a way that he just carries on going. Sorry, Shamil.
Please,
আমি সরি এই কথা আমি বারবার কইছি আমার ঘোষণা তো কইছি এখন যদি সে ভাষা বুঝে না মানে বাংলাও বুঝে না সিলেটিও বুঝে না আমি সরি আমি আর কোনো স্কুলে যাই জইব আমার হাতে জইব আচ্ছা আমি পরিষ্কার করে কইছি যে এখানে 2 সলিসিটার আসন লয়ার আসন কোনো গড় বা কোনো প্রপার্টি রেজিস্ট্রি যদি এখানে নাম লাগে আচ্ছা গড়ের নামে গড় রেজিস্ট্রি হয় না আমরা 1978 যখন 148 হেডফিল্ড রোড নেক্সট টু দি টাউন হোটেল যখন আমরা রেজিস্ট্রি করি তখন আমরা 4 জনকে চয়েস করছি একজন গোলাম মোস্তফা সাহেব একজন এই আব্দুল জলিল সাহেব নাইদান মারা গেছেন একজন মজুমিয়া সাহেব আর একজন আব্দুল আলী সাহেব এই 4 জনকে আমরা কাস্টোডিয়ান ট্রাস্টি বানাইয়া তার নামে ও রেজিস্ট্রি করছি এবং এর পরে আরেকটা দলিল আমরা করতে লগে আচ্ছা ও দলিলের পরে আরো দলিল হয়েছে যে এটা ট্রাস্টের নামে তারা 4 জন ট্রান্সফার করে দিয়েছেন আগে এই গোড়িটা যেটাকে বাংলা যেটাকে আরবি ভাষা ওয়াক কই নেই ওয়াক করা মসজিদ ওয়াক কই যে কি এটা নামাজি ও তারা হয় এরা মুসলমান না এরা নামাজি পড়ায় Where do you photo akona?
But I'm not saying. But the other interesting thing about what Shamibhai said is that we haven't taken control of the mosque. People have got to get into this idea that we are not in control of the mosque. The mosque is open to everyone. Okay, mosque is full out all the time. Okay? What have we taken control of? We're not in control of the bank account. We're not in control of the charity. What have we taken control of? I'll tell you what we've taken control of: electric bill, gas bill, water bill, accounting for money that's donated.
Council tax.
Okay? And the property next door, we pay the council tax. So we haven't taken control of anything. We haven't prevented anybody from coming. Whoever wants to come can come. Masjid is not ours. It doesn't belong to me.
No.
It belongs to everybody. Whoever wants to come. Sorry.
He's paid employee.
Which one?
He's paid employee.
Imam Shah
He's a paid employee.
Voluntary shape.
No, Imam Shah paid kori amra. Je tani che barai ke chuli ekan theke. Na tani koi chona tani hasole ma tani pattana hai ta. Okay chuli. Don't know. তুমি পরে আই তুমি জিঙ্গো ইগো আমার বক্তব্যের শুরুতে আমি কইয়া গেছি যে তারা তো যারা পাঁচজন বা ছয়জন মারিয়ে থাকার কারণে কজন মারছে, বাকি যারা আসলে এরা মুখ বন্ধ কেন থাকলো? আমরা তো 60 সপ্তাহ বাড়াইছি, স্ক্যানারও নাই, ব্যক্তিগতভাবে নাই, কোনো কিছু নাই, এতে প্রমাণ করে যে তারা সম্মিলিতভাবে মারছে।
Mosquito, এটা ওনার উপরে না আপনি এটা প্রচলিত হয়েছে
Yeah.
এটা আমাদের উপরে চলতে থাকবে।
এটা আল্লাহর ঘর। আল্লাহর ঘর।
I was just mentioning about the Imam. We don't have any control over the bank account
No.
because we're not signatories to the bank account. What we try to do is we try to freeze the account so that no payments are being made out.
Yeah.
And for a period of time that was successful. The bank said we're going to hold on to the account until it's investigated further. People being on furlough, people who are still being paid and they're not providing a service. You know, if you're an imam, you have to ask yourself, is what I'm doing getting payment, and I'm not going to the masjid, you know, I'm not leading the prayers, is that right what I should be doing?
No.
Or maybe he should be saying to us, look, everybody's back to work, I want to come back to work, I don't want to go on furlough. Okay, that's open to them as well. But where the money is going and how the money is being spent, we don't know. That's down to the other committee. You know, they have to account for us. We've asked for bank statements. We're going to see where all of the money is being spent, if any money is being spent. They are personally accountable for every single penny.
Yeah.
Sorry, Mary, somebody else wants to ask a
The
question.
bed still frozen. Bed still frozen, not frozen.
Right now, it's only check for tomorrow. How come it's just a break?
আমরা কালকে তারা কিছু করতে পারি না।
They're misusing the funds. If it's not frozen,
Yeah.
they might be misusing it.
They could be misusing the funds.
Yes,
yeah.
could be.
If they're misusing the funds, then they've got 2 or 3 problems.
Yeah.
Number one, they have to account to us where that money has gone. Otherwise, they're personally liable.
Yeah.
Number two, if we end up in court, they have to account to a judge
Yeah.
for where they've used those funds. And number
Yeah.
three, if they're using it for any dishonest purpose, they will then have to account to the police.
Yeah. মেনার কি তা কইতা?
Sorry.
Yeah.
Be very mistaken if they do that, because I know one thing, that if they were to pay for injunction, that we could put a condition from the other side that those funds are not to be used.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So if they decided to go to court, the first thing they would have to do is get an injunction to remove us.
Yeah.
Because in their minds, we're the ones who are stopping them from running their carrying out their functions. Okay. We can say to a judge, we have concerns about the way the bank account is being used. If they want to carry on with a court case, let them fund their own court case.
Yeah.
But the money belongs to the community,
Yeah.
to the beneficiaries.
To the beneficiaries.
Okay? And the other thing that we can do is once we've got the membership list, we can ask all of the members to sign a document to the bank to say, I've contributed towards these funds, yeah, I'm the beneficiary of these funds, and basically I don't want these funds to be used in any legal proceedings. I paid this money.
আমরা পার্টিকুলার লাইনে নেই আমরা পার্টিকুলার লাইন আমাদের তোরা কিছু কথা পার্টিকুলার
So there are ways of stopping that from happening, and obviously we're on to that. There's a substantial amount of money sitting in the charity bank account.
না ও কথা শুনতো আমি আবার ক্লিয়ার করতে দিলাম আপনারে যেটা আমি প্রশ্ন করছিলাম ইগো আল্লাহর মসজিদ এগুলো 1978 থেকে মসজিদ 70 থেকে কত বছর হয়েছে প্রায় 42 বছর প্রায় 42 বছর হয়েছে ইগো মসজিদ আজকে যারা প্রশ্ন আনছেন এরা যদি তারা যদি হ্যালো বাবা বিসমিল্লাহ আজকে যারা প্রশ্ন আনছেন তারা যদি সৎসাহস থাকে তারা যদি সত্যিকারের মানুষ থাকে সেই সৎসাহস থেকে আমার সামনে কইতো আমার সামনে যে প্রশ্নটা হলো মসজিদ দিয়ে গত 10 বছর নমাজ পড়ানো করছে গত 20 বছর নমাজ পড়ানো করছে যাই হোক এটা কথা আছে এর বাদেও আমি আমরা ইন্টারভিউর পক্ষ থেকে আমরা বিমুরগি কারণ এরা বয়স্ক মানুষ বিমারি তারা আইতে পারেন না সবসময় আমরা তারা আনি ওরা কষ্ট করি না আমরা পক্ষ থেকে আমরা আপনারা পরিষ্কার করে ক্লিয়ার কাট করে দিলাম আমরা যেদিন থেকে ইন্টারভিউ দিতে ওদিন থেকে এখন পর্যন্ত আমরা যতটুকু পারছি আমরা ফোনটাই করছি এবং করলাম আচ্ছা আমরা কোনো ইন্টেনশন নাই ভবিষ্যতেও নাই এখনো নাই আমরা না প্রেসিডেন্ট না সেক্রেটারি না কোনো মেম্বার সেগুলো লাগে আমরা কোনো ইন্টেনশন নাই আমরা সহি লিওদিল্লাহ শুধু আইসি আমরা মুরব্বী বলে আমি যারা মুরব্বী বলে আসলাম মরিকে চুঙ্গি তারা মাটি নিচে কে চুঙ্গি প্রায় সহায় মানুষ আমার লোকের শুধু আমি আরো যেহেতু মানুষের মাঝে সচল শুধু আমি এগুলো আমি আল্লাহর শুকরিয়া আদায় করতে পারতাম না, আপনারাও শুকরিয়া আদায় করতে পারতাম না, আপনারা দয়া তো আমার আল্লাহর আছে। আমরা কোনো ইনস্টিটিউশন নাই, কোনো পড়াবি। আচ্ছা, আমরা শুধু মসজিদটাকে সহি করার লাগি আমরা মুরগি করছিলাম, সুন্দরভাবে মসজিদ লাগানি চলো ওগুলো লাগিয়ে আইছি। আমরা ওগুলো যেদিন হারমু ওই দিন ধরে আপনার কাছে আমরা ভেজে মুরগি বুঝছেন নি, আমরা কোনো ইন্টেনশন নাই, কিন্তু লম্বা করার কোনো ইন্টেনশন নাই, আমরা থাকতাম পরিষ্কার করলাম।
আমার বেশি কনসার্ন, personal concern will be over the bank account there, because I personally believe if they go to high court, wherever court, they will misuse that fund, and I'm not saying somehow you need to stop.
ঠিক আছে, we're working on it. Professor আছে, আমি আছি, we're working on it to make sure that nobody can access that account.
That's it.
Yeah, even if the bank said you might have to get a court order, even if you have to go to court and get a freezing order, we will go to court and get a freezing order to make sure that money is not touched. Okay, ঠিক আছে?
আমরা তো হিসাবে তো কইরা আমরা শুনছি, আমার মামাও কইরা সত্য। আমার চিন্তা প্রশ্ন আপনি শোনেন যে আমি একটা কমিটি কইরা আমরা চাইল্ড কমিশনার বাড়িতাম, এটা আমরা বুঝাই না আপনার উত্তরটা কি দিয়েছে চাইল্ড কমিশনার, একজনটা কমিশন এটা করছিলাম এখন তাদের স্টিল তারা তারা ভ্যালিড, এটা কোনো রিপ্লাই আইসেনি, তারা তো পাবলিকও তারা বানিয়েছে, বিষয়টা অবশ্য পাবলিকও তারা বানিয়েছে।
তারা নাম ঘুরাই দিচ্ছে, তারা দিচ্ছে
Sorry, Pastor, I have a question which I have fairly, but okay, but first please have to Madonna and yeah.
তারা বলছে যে পাবলিকে যদি তারা এটা যদি ইনভালিড থাকে তার কমিউনিটি, বুঝছেন, তারা তো অবশ্য আপনারা যেটা দেখছে আপনারা লোকগুলো চাইল্ডকে কিছু করার দরকার আছে, কিন্তু এটা তারা করছে না। তারা এখনো অ্যাডভাইস দেয় চাইল্ড কমিশনের যে তারা এইটা বড় মসজিদ তারা টিভিও করতে পারবো, এইগুলো করতে পারবো, আমরা কোন গ্রান্ড উঠিয়ে করলাম। আপনি তো লিগেল মার্কেট আমিও দেখছি এটা যে আপনার কাছে যে কপি আছে এটা আমি আনছি কপি, এইও দেখছেন। আমার এটা হলো একটা পয়েন্ট যে এটা একটা তারা রাইট আসেনি, এখন তারা ভেরিট আসেনি, আমরা যেটা আপনারা কইরা দ্বারা এটা উপরে কতটুকু আমরা ফেসবুক আছি চাইল্ড কমিশনের উপরে নেক্সট স্টেপ আমরা কিতাব রেজাল্টটা দিব। কারণ এখনকার এখানে দুই গ্রুপ সেক্টর, দুইটা গ্রুপ আমরা সবাই জানি, কিন্তু কিছু পাবলিক আইন মধ্যে কিছু পাবলিক আইন মধ্যে আমরা সব একটা জনমাঝে আছি। কারণ মসজিদ আল্লাহর ঘর যদি চাকরিটাও করে দিব কিন্তু সব শেষ হয়ে যায়, এটা তো আমি জানি সকলেও জানা এটা অবস্থায় নয়। এবং কিভাবে তারা দেখবো করবো, আমরা দেখবো করবো, শেষ পর্যন্ত কি করবো দিবই, আমরা পাইবো তাই আপনি পাইবা ওই। তো আমার কথা হলো যে লিগেল বান্ধা আমরা কতটুকু একটু আগ্রহ, যদি লিগেল সাইডে আমরা একটু ক্লিয়ার হয় একটা বিশেষ সময়, তা আমার হয় যে গুতা করতে পারবে না, আর ওটুন আগ্রহ জিনিসটা লিগেল সাইডে গুতা করা যায়, এটা আপনার
If everybody who thought they were right was right, you wouldn't have a lawyer, you wouldn't have a court, you wouldn't need a judge. Okay? I'm right, it's solid. That's how it would work, okay?
Yeah.
But everybody has a different point of view, and everybody has a different opinion on what the law is, okay? What you said about the Charity Commission, okay? The letter from the Charity Commission is addressed to those people who they recognise as the trustees. They are still on the Charity Commission website as trustees. So they can only address their correspondence to those trustees. They can't address that correspondence to anybody else. And the only thing the Charity Commission can do is give words of advice. And that's all they've done.
Advice
In their
is advice,
correspondence. They've given advice. Okay?
Only advice.
Has the Charity Commission got that right, or has the Charity Commission got that wrong? I don't know. I'm not the judge of that.
No.
But what I do know is, we wrote a 6-page letter to their solicitor pointing out all of the problems, and their reply was in a 1-page letter. In the 6 pages, we said, this is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem, all of these points. 6 pages. It took me hours to send instructions to our solicitor. It took him hours to redraft the letter and send it on. Apara kita uttor dise in 1 page, we don't agree, we're going to take you to court.
Yes, sir.
Okay?
কালিমে আমরা নির্দেশন করতে পারি না তারা স্যার
আমি তোমার কথা করতাম না নাও সেই রাম আমুনা আমি তোমার প্রশ্ন উত্তর দিলাম
Okay, let me
আমরা তো পাবলিক আমরা তেরা সালাম না
Okay, so that's another misconception, you see.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is the problem, you see, because if you don't understand what the rules and the regulations are, if you're not following the rules and the regulations, then whatever election you have is not going to work.
Yeah.
Which is what happened last year. That's why we're in this mess.
Yeah.
If we now say, well, forget all of this hassle, let's have an election, and these are our new trustees. Who do you think that's going to accept that election? They're not going to accept that election.
No.
They're still going to say we're going to take it to court. Is the Charity Commission going to accept that? They're not going to accept it. So before we rush off to have an election, we have to think about doing it properly from scratch.
Yeah.
And after we should, so by after question, that's it.
লাস্ট কোশ্চেন হলো যে ইদান লাস্টে আমরা এটা ট্রাই করে যে আমরা তো অগ্রণী ভুল হয় মিডিয়েশন ইন্ডিয়া ডিসকাশন প্রবলেম আছে
জি জি
আমরা ডাইমেনশন প্রবলেম আছে বস কিন্তু সবাই
জি জি ঠিক আছে 100% আমরা ফটো দেখান চাই না আমরা ফটো নষ্ট করতাম চাই না what is the point, you know, what is the point of wasting time and money going to court? We want to talk and we want to say, look, this is what everybody wants, this is the problem, this is what we see as the solution, okay? And then they can say, well, look, this is what we want, and these are the points that we want to advance. And in mediation, there's going to be negotiation, there's going to be coming back and forth.
Yeah.
But even if there's back and forth, at least we're having a discussion. The important thing is, yeah? It's simple.
আমরা তো কইতে দরকার না সব সময়
Yes. Yes.
ও ছয়জন ও ছয়জনের বাইরে যদি প্রশ্ন নিয়মিত আইসি দিল না আপনার বাইরে দিত সকল বাইরে যদি প্রশ্ন দিত আইসি আসলে ডিভাইডটা হবে এটা নিজের ভিতরে একটা জিনিস আছে মাইন্ডে আল্লাহর গরম আছে তাই বলতে আমরা খালি বিদাকি মানুষ হিসাবে যে মানুষই আছে একজন মাইন্ডে আল্লাহর গরম ছিল আছে এই মানুষই একজন মানুষ হয় তাই বলবো না Dessa parte do mundo. E a human. E desde naide am human dessa parte do mundo. E é um baile, mas a vai.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Terminamos essa invitação. Okay.
Security is too much. Okay, and everyone will agree it's too much. 500, whoever is too much. Okay, mediation. Council has been calling both sides. Apparently, your side is not wanting to meet out because.
No.
Sorry, that's
Let me. No. say that.
No.
You can't say that.
No.
I've put my reputation. I put my reputation on the line for this masjid. Okay?
Yes.
I put my personal reputation. Okay.
Yeah.
I don't come here and say that I've offered a mediation and for somebody else to say that's not true. Okay?
No.
I have been to the council. I've had a meeting with Councillor White twice. We've also had meetings
Yeah.
with what's her name, Stella somebody.
Stella.
We have said time and time again we want to have mediation.
No.
We have never said we don't want to talk. Okay, so wherever that information that came from,
It's wrong.
it's wrong. It's undermining. It's wrong.
It's wrong.
It's undermining all the work we've done so far with the parties.
Yeah.
Because especially if that message.
This is a party, really. You know, disagree regularly.
No. Because,
You can say what you want to say.
No.
You don't want to mediate because of certain individuals, and then you don't want to go to the council for mediation. Interim board, okay, I can understand why Sasa is there, but run by yourself, you know, how did you get there? That's a different matter. There should be elders, if it's because
no, please.
Please, we got to this problem because the previous committee, there's some members here, they didn't go ahead with the election. Okay, the election was called last year, they didn't go ahead. So that's why we come to this stage. New election, okay, we need to somehow get to the stage where we come to a new election. Okay, why have we already got the, you should have the list of how many members there are. You should have the list already. Mosque is not open all the time, it's only open during the prayer time and it is closed. Myself and other people have gone a few minutes later and the security hasn't allowed us in. What's the problem with allowing one person to go in? Or, you know, they're coming early or they're coming late? Okay, that's another thing. Someone previously asked questions. He's furloughed. Okay, I don't know who's furloughed him, but I spoke to him. Come to my house, he wants to return. Okay? So that's for you to sort out. And previously, it's not just the next one was rally. There's been previously attacks. I'm going to take your turn. Previously, not just voices been attacked, Aki was attacked, Roa, Hamid was attacked, Kamal was attacked. Nothing was done then. You see, okay, it's a bad thing to attack. This for some people, this is an opportunity for the other side to go in.
Okay, I'll go through the list. If I've missed anything, just remind me. So on the point of mediation, I am unhappy about it. It's not very often that I lose my temper, really. But time and time again, we've contacted the council. Councillor White will be able to confirm this. So will Stella Nash. The police will be able to confirm it. It's all in black and white. We have tried time and time again to communicate with these people to say that we wish to have mediation, okay? So it's not that we're refusing. I don't want to go to court. I want to have a conversation.
Yeah.
It's the first thing we said, and that's what we've been trying. The other question about security. And the times that security open. If people want to say that they should be open at different times or whatever, maybe we should have a different arrangement. Contact us.
Yeah.
Tell us. We don't know, what people want.
The masjid has been open every
Of course it's open, but what I'm saying is, if people are saying we come late and the gate is closed, we can't get in, for example, it's a bit of an issue for us. We want to open. Then
The gate was open, people were still coming out.
yeah. So email us, contact us. My name and number.
The COVID-19, they have the rules that say.
Yeah, hold on a second. But what I'm saying is that it's open to discussion. If people want to have a discussion about how things are being managed, just contact us and say, we'd like to see X, Y, and Z happening. It's not a problem. As far as the Imam being on furlough, interestingly, I received a letter from HMRC the other day, from the tax inspector, saying that nobody's bothered paying his income tax and nobody's bothered paying his national insurance contributions. And if it's not paid, the centre's going to be in trouble. That's not my responsibility. I didn't employ him. Whoever's employed him must have access to the bank account in order to pay their tax liabilities. So what's going on? And if he's got a complaint about why he's on furlough, well, he can't be self-employed on furlough. He must be employed. So if he's got a concern about why he isn't working, why isn't he back in the masjid, he should be talking to his employer. The same employer who hasn't paid his tax. He should be speaking to them and saying, look, I want to get back into the masjid. His employer, whoever that might be, should then contact us and say, can we have a discussion about this imam, coming back to do his job? Where's the problem with that? Nobody's done that. As far as Kosa Ali and Hamid and other people being attacked, are we using it as an excuse to get back into the masjid? I'm certainly not. All of these incidents which I've heard about, which have come to my ears.
That's the problem with the community.
It's not something I've wanted to get involved in. But it's an accumulation of all of these problems. Accumulation. It's come to a point where why is it that we're getting involved now? Speaking for myself personally, I can't think of a better candidate. Who else would I have running the masjid? If it's not somebody who can deal with paperwork, because I love paperwork. If it's not somebody who can give up a bit of time, I'm self-employed. My employees can run my business, and I can concentrate my time on this. Okay? If it's not somebody who can read a document and say this constitution isn't quite right, or these rules and regulations aren't being followed, if it's not me that does that, let's find a better candidate. Sorry, Shaki.
I'll make it quick.
Hold on a second. When he was asking the question, I stood up and I interrupted him. I want to say sorry, but when somebody says that about something that I know to be completely false, it does affect me. So I apologise for interrupting. I'm sorry if that was out of turn.
Okay, so just want to reiterate, because I just want to emphasize the reason why I was talking about contacting the other people for the exact reason. Because I remember the last time when the election happened, we held meetings here, and the other party saying that no one invited them, when in fact we know we invited them. So that's why, if I was misunderstood earlier, that's why I was emphasizing that, okay? So going forward, what's going to be the plan now? Because obviously they're going to be refusing to mediate. Okay? So you talked about getting a second special meeting that's going to meet the charity commission's criteria. So I think that's probably going to be the best option going forward now. So I think maybe we can
What I was going to say, thank you very much. What I was going to suggest is that with the people here, we just ask for a simple raise of hands so that we get everybody's feeling. And the first option I would suggest, the first thing to do I would suggest, is that we try and mediate. Okay? And I'm willing to take any avenue possible to communicate with the other side and say we are willing to have a conversation with you. So my suggestion is, if everybody's in agreement with that, that should be our first step. Is there anybody who objects to that?
No, I agree with
Mediation. So we're going for mediation.
use every avenue possible.
Every avenue possible to get it.
Okay.
And if that fails, The question is,
Well,
the question is,
hold on.
yeah.
It's really important to put some perspective.
Yeah.
It seems quite clear, whether it's through Councillor White, or whether it was here, or Stella, or your legal team, you show time and time again that they're willing to meet.
Yes, yeah.
So it has to come from the other side. The questions need to be asked to the other side. Why are you not willing to come to the table? So instead of standing here and saying, well, we need to use every avenue, I think it seems like every avenue has that sort of thing. Right? So I think we have to put this in one wait, just one other thing. Shakir said about, how did these people come in? Well, we mandated them in an emergency meeting. That's how they came in. That's really important. The public voted them in. We mandated them. Sorry, I'm not going really important. Why are you asking of us? You're asking for our support. You're asking for our support, whether that's financially or whether that's with our words and our encouragement. And so we're happy to do that. I'm happy to do that. I don't know about everyone else. Are we here supportive of the people that we put in? I think that's the question.
Why do you think we're here? Because they're there, and that's what we do.
That's it. I think that's what they're asking us.
তুমি কি করতে পারতে না এমনি দাও এমনি আমরা প্রশ্ন করবো শেষ ওকে আপনি যদি করতে চান প্রশ্ন মিটিং করবা প্রশ্ন হবে না না প্রশ্ন আমরা প্রশ্ন করবো শেষ না প্রশ্ন না আমি চাইছি
I'm not
না প্রশ্ন
what I see when we talk about the other people, we talk to them as if they fuss. Your word was fuss. If we get in denial, we can't use language, or we can't do that. All that's creating division, and all it's going to be is 1 year this party is in, next year that party is in, the next year that party is. First a bit of constitution, now first a bit of constitution. That's all we go. And we're not achieving absolutely nothing. Yeah? We say we're going to be there with another party, but yet we go to the councillors to go, why can't we direct them straight and say, look, guys, we need to say no.
Yeah, we have.
We have.
Well, you just missed the point there. Just said that they have.
He said, three people. Councillor White, Stella,
Yeah.
the police,
Yeah.
who's up, and Ibrahim. Can we not go direct to them?
We have spoken to them directly.
We want the same goal. Yeah? We don't want our community to look back. Yeah? Can we not sit down and let's sort this out?
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But I have.
We have spoken to them.
Yeah.
They see it as why definition Councillor White? Councillor White.
Yeah. Well, Councillor White is the leader of the council presently.
For that area.
No, in St Albans.
All of the council
Yeah. He's the leader, so he's a heavyweight councillor in the area. Plus, he's the councillor for Clarence Ward, where the mustard falls. Okay. So it's important that we involve him because he knows what's going on the ground. The people that have been involved in this, Inspector Wiseman, I mentioned earlier, the Chief Inspector, Linda Coates, that I mentioned earlier, this conversation about mediation wasn't just initiated by us, it was also initiated by the police. I've got emails from Inspector Wiseman saying, are you willing to have a discussion with the other people? And we have said, yes, we are. Okay, we have said that.
Yeah.
And in terms of why don't we go to them directly, well, number one, I phoned Fonda's number, which is on the Charity Commission website. Anybody can ring that number. It doesn't work.
Yeah.
Okay? Doesn't work.
Email him as well.
Email.
On the Charity Commission website, there's an email for him. I've emailed him twice. Okay, it bounces back. This email is no longer in use. Okay, so that hasn't worked. But what we have done is I've sent letters, I've sent emails, and I've said, you know, let's have a conversation. And the president as well, Shiraz Islam Chowdhury. Yeah, so everybody has been contacted. There has been communication. All they have to do is pick the phone up. My number's on the correspondence. All they have to do is pick the phone up and say, we're happy to have a chat. Or even if it's not all of them, if one of them wants to ring me and say, look, can we have a chat, you and me, have a coffee, and see where we're going, I'm happy to do that. You asked the question, why are other people involved? But if I can't communicate directly with this brother, and somebody says, I'll help you facilitate communication, I'm not going to let go of that option. It's an option available to me. There's no other...
You might get them closer.
But that's...
Maybe they don't recognise who you are.
Yeah, and it's possible they don't recognise me.
And look at the community that we have, and not the big side.
Yeah.
They might have to enjoy it and say, look, this is the community, I'm our community.
Yeah, I mean, it's quite possible if they don't want to speak to me about it, they can pass a message and say, we don't recognise you, but we would like to pass the message on. Okay.
Next time. Meeting.